It's that special time again, wizards and witches. It's my review of the 4th episode of Black Clover. Asta and Yuno have finally made it to the Clover Kingdom capital as they prepare to participate in the tuning exam. Excuse me, I mean the hunter exam. Whoa, let's pump the brakes a little bit. They actually participate in the Magic Knights exam. This is an arc that's going to seem very familiar to those who are fans of Shonen Jump manga or just love watching action anime in general. Shows like Dragon Ball, One Piece, Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, and the like. That's because we have an arc here which is going to show off the potential of the main characters, Asta and Yuno, as well as introducing a ton of new characters, all of which are surprisingly interesting, especially the captains of the Magic Knights. Yes, these are the 9 knights who work directly under the Wizard King himself, and these guys are so powerful that each one of them is supposedly as powerful as 100 mages altogether. And they're the next in line, they're the next candidates, if you will, to become the next Wizard King, and they're going to be overseeing this entire exam. So before we jump into the nitty-gritty, let's just talk a little bit about the main story of this episode, which was deceptively simple. Basically, it was just Asta and Yuno showing up in the Clover Kingdom capital and just being amazed by everything they see. They work their way to this giant castle in the center where they're greeted by hundreds of other people who are getting ready to participate in this exam. They're confronted by all of the knights who all have unique abilities and names and signature things about them. Unfortunately, we don't get to learn too much about them, but they all look pretty freaking awesome. I actually like a couple of them, to be perfectly honest. It's weird that I'm saying I like them. It's just because there's only been so many characters in Black Clover so far that I haven't really become that attached to. I'm still not a fan of Asta at all. His screaming personality and just the fact that he just seems kind of bland, honestly. Maybe he'll grow into something more, but as it stands, I'm more interested to see what's going to be going on with Yuno. But some of these captains are pretty freaking awesome, and a lot of them have like a designation attached to them. Like each captain has like a title. Like some of them are like the Silver Eagles, some of them are the Black Bulls, some of them are probably like the Blue Barracudas and stuff, you know, freaking Legend of the Hidden Temple style stuff. So basically, they're going to try and go through this exam, be monitored by all these guys, and they'll get to join one of these squads. And anybody who doesn't get to make it, well, they just get kicked out of camp. It's basically the way it's going to work. And we get to see a lot of different elements of the exam in this episode, which only a little bit of it is animated. Most of the exam is actually done just in still images, which is incredibly lazy, but whatever. At least we're going to get through this stuff real quickly so we can get to the real good stuff of this arc. And it all comes to a head at the very end of the episode when we get to see that the next portion of the exam is going to involve having one-on-one fights. So of course Asta is going to be the #1 guy to jump up and prove himself in front of everybody, and admittedly his scene is actually kind of cool. It's just not really all that inventive and nothing that I've seen before, but it's definitely one of those scenes from the series that's had the most punch to the gut, if you know what I mean. The most gusto. It looks like they actually kind of gave a crap about this scene a little bit with the actual speed that they did with it and just the overall impact. But before we can even talk about that, we really have to talk about all of the new characters in this episode, which is really the reason to check this one out. So let's just talk about them. First and foremost, the guy that Asta's actually fighting against is this douche by the name of Seki Bronzaza. That's literally his name, and basically he's just a jerk. He just takes advantage of the fact that Asta is like the weakest one there, who doesn't have the ability to use magic, and just tries to make him look like a fool, and by the end of the episode, he figures he's going to claw his way to the top by beating up the new kid who doesn't know how to use magic. Unfortunately for Seki, he doesn't realize that Asta has a giant black sword of destruction, which manages to just rip everything in its path. There's a great scene where Seki, erupts this, giant barrier around him, and I'm not even sure what to make of it. It just looks weird as crap. But Asta just immediately pulls out his sword in a pretty epic fashion, flies towards him, and just destroys it in one swipe, while also knocking this guy out and probably make everybody around them piss their pants with, oh crap, I didn't see that coming. Honestly, probably the coolest scene of the entire series thus far. And I'm not sure if this Seki character is going to be sticking around any longer, if he's going to continue to be a rival of Asta himself. This could very well be the Jean of the series. I mean, I'm talking about Jean from Attack on Titan. If you don't get that reference, well, you don't get that reference. The rest of the episode, like I said, though, is basically just an excuse to see all of the brand new characters, and most of them are basically just the captains themselves. There really aren't any other, like, unique characters who are taking the exam, aside from this one female character who clearly is important because, one, she has a distinctive character design, which is definitely a trait in this type of series. You see her in the intro, so she's definitely going to be important. That, and she seems to be the younger sister of one of the captains, who goes by the name of Nozel or Nozzle. I'm going to call him Nozzle because he looks like a douche nozzle. But honestly, this guy has like a problem with his younger sister taking the exam because she's of royalty, and royalty shouldn't have to join these peasants in this exam, and they should just immediately be able to cut in line and be one of the top dogs. So it's pretty obvious what her story arc is going to be, which is breaking away from her very stuffy family, and of course proving herself not only to her brother, but to everyone else in the process. But they don't even get into that in this episode. Basically, it's just an excuse to show her off. The other big characters they introduce are pretty much all of the people who are the captains and some of the people who work under them. The Black Bulls definitely make one of the biggest impressions. There's this one big guy who's just sort of hanging around all of these students because he got lost after taking a crap. That is literally what he says. And of course, Asta gets in his way, he pisses him off, and he just grabs him and picks him up and starts to muscle him around. This guy is the captain of the Black Bull Knights, and basically what I'm understanding is these guys are probably like the bruisers of the Magic Knights captains. They're probably the guys who use their fists just a little bit more than they use magic, which leads me to believe that not only was the scene just an introduction to them, but subtly hinting at the fact that Asta himself is probably going to join this group, and that's because all of his powers revolve around his physical abilities. I mean, aside from using a sword, I really haven't seen him using all that much magic, and you're definitely not going to see any of it in this episode during the exam, which is kind of disappointing to say the least. But you get to see a lot of new characters who are working directly under the Black Bulls. Some of them are interesting, some of them are womanizers, some of them look just like freaking Marilyn Manson. Seriously, like, there's this one character who is literally Marilyn Manson just cosplaying as an anime character. It's ridiculous. The other captains and everything, they introduce them so fast that I don't even really get a time to remember their names or who they are or really what's special about them. But they all have unique traits. Like, one of them is this girl who sleeps continuously, and apparently that's what her powers involve, and I don't understand it yet. There's a guy who can conjure flames. There is this one dude by the name of William Vengeance, who is basically the next in line to become the Wizard King. He's this guy who wears this very effeminate, super colorful costume and this crazy mask. And the fact that his name is William Vengeance is funny because the last name is Vengeance. It sounds like vengeance, but it sounds like a southerner trying to say vengeance. Vengeance, I don't know. It's really funny to me, but this guy looks like he's going to be really cool. And honestly, the captains are probably the coolest characters themselves. They range from being incredibly funny and awesome to creepy, like this one guy whose name is Jack the Ripper. So there's definitely going to be a favorite for everyone here, but it's basically just a straight introduction to all of them. And I honestly can't wait to learn just a little bit more about them. Color me intrigued, basically. So this is when the rest of the exam just kicks off, when William Vengeance comes in and he summons this massive tree from the sky, which gives everybody a broomstick, and that's like the first part of the exam, flying and then conjuring magic and then transforming things, and then it comes to the big fighting, where Asta just comes in and surprises everyone. It's a great triumphant moment for the character, and definitely the best moment from the series thus far. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Black Clover? Man, every single time I start an episode of Black Clover, I'm always like this close to just giving up on it. Like, I find myself not caring or even wanting to watch the series. You're probably asking yourself, Corey, why are you even watching it then? I still see a lot of potential in the show. There's something more to this that I'm not seeing, and, you know, maybe I'm just being foolhardy here. Maybe I'm just judging it too much. I'm not really sure. But there could be something special with Black Clover in its future, and I can't wait to see how it's going to evolve. As it is now, it's still really not all that great, and a lot of that is owed to the pacing, which is snail slow, really freaking slow. That and that the production value just really is not that special. There is nothing here that really like blows me away in terms of the animation or the artwork. I mean, the final scene with Asta pulling out his sword was pretty cool, but even that just didn't wow me as much as I was hoping it would. I mean, it even had some really cool stuff going for it, like the speed lines and how quick he moved and the impact of his sword leaving a massive crater in the ground. Like, that's the type of stuff that I love. But for some odd reason, it just didn't really do it for me in this episode right here. It was still fun to watch in some ways, but for the most part, I still find myself struggling to kind of like these characters a little bit. That and just, and this is kind of, and I'm not going to apply what I'm about to say to the actual score of the episode, because I could say this for almost every single anime series. I hate how only the important characters are the ones with distinctive character designs. Unless you got like some sort of weird, wacky haircut or crazy costume, you're not important. Like, you immediately know who is going to be an important character when they're standing out in that crowd. Maybe that's the point. Maybe that's why they are the main characters. They stand out from the crowd. But it's just distracting when you see these characters with these elaborate costumes, and then there's like 50 other people who are just dudes wearing brown shirts. It's something that a lot of other anime series are guilty of, not just this one right here. And like I said, I just wanted to get that off my chest. So that's why seeing some distinctive characters in this episode was really refreshing, because a lot of them have just been kind of boring. That being said, though, I still can't wait to see where all of this is going to be headed. There were still plenty of really great scenes. I loved watching Asta try to fly a broom and just completely fail at it. Just gets up on it and just rides it like just on his feet, like he's just like surfing on a freaking broomstick, and that alone is pretty fun to watch. So, let's just see what this whole Magic Knights exam thing is going to give us. I mean, maybe it'll be pretty awesome. We'll have to see. I'm still kind of skeptical to see how far the show is going to go. And I said that I did want to review the entire season. I heard from someone that I think this one's going to go like a full 50 episodes or something, and whew, if that's the case, I need to strap myself in. I'm going to give the series a couple more episodes. But if by like the end of the first arc, I'm just not feeling it, I may drop the anime series. We'll have to see. But there you go. That's my thoughts on it. Black Clover fans, you're probably disappointed that I'm not as enthused about this series as you are. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, and you guys could tell me why in the comment section below. Before you do that, though, my score for this one is a 3 out of 5. Just the average episode. Nothing really all that crazy. Still a small amount of excitement and some new characters, but really nothing is breaking the mold here. But again, I'd love to hear your thoughts about the episode. It's not the series for me quite yet anyway, but maybe it is for you. Tell me why in the comment section below. Tell me what you liked or did not like about this episode and what you hope to see from the rest of the Black Clover anime series. Thank you guys for watching this review. I really appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all types of anime and manga reviews. And of course, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay down, baby.